Thank you for tuning in. This is part 2 of James's conversation with Bishop Senior. Obviously, if you haven't listened to it yet, go back and listen to part 1. Thank you.
Ding, 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 ding. Fun fact time.
Should we move on to Catholic schools, James?
Yeah. So, Bishop Senior, why would you recommend Catholic schools to a student?
Oh, wow. Well, wonderful. There's so many wonderful things about Catholic schools. In a Catholic school, I like to say, we really educate the whole person. And, the key aspect of that's present in a Catholic school is the whole question of a relationship with God, our learning about our faith, learning about God's plan for our life, and our relationship with God that we have through Jesus Christ. So really, Catholic schools exist primarily to teach the faith, to teach the Catholic faith. And so formation in the faith certainly is the main deciding factor. And with that comes, I believe, a very clear emphasis on values and the kind of values that really are not just important in education when you're in the 3rd grade or above, but values that you learn for life. And I know that there's wonderful public schools that do that as well. I'm not suggesting that doesn't happen. But here, it's very explicit in a Catholic school, and that it's also a true community of faith, if it's in that context. So, educating the whole person in a values-based environment, I think it's more important than ever right now in our world. And I went to Catholic school myself, St. Rose of Lima Elementary School in North Wales, and I'm a proud graduate of Lansdale Catholic High School, where I was a crusader.
And then you went to seminary, not at St. Mary's, but...
I went to St. Charles Borromeo Seminary, where I later was the rector.
And that's in Philly.
Right now it's actually in Gwynedd. It's right near where I grew up. It's moved. We just moved. This is the first year at the new campus. It was just outside Philadelphia in Wynwood, Pennsylvania, Montgomery County.
All right.
For 150 years.
Just
more.
Moved more space. Old building was too
the
hard
old
to...
buildings, yeah, had gotten beyond us in terms of maintenance. It was built for another age. We acquired property and an existing dormitory from Gwynedd Mercy University several years ago and built an entirely new campus on the campus of Gwynedd Mercy.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, in Lower Gwynedd Township.
Not from St. Joe's, but Reese Currian is from
Yes.
St. Columba.
Right,
I think that's where he's at.
That's where Reese is, yes.
Yeah.
We have 7 seminarians for the Diocese of Harrisburg are at St. Charles, and there are 3 currently at Mount St. Mary's Seminary in Emmitsburg.
I think the other one kind of local to us is from Benton. Eric?
Yes, Eric Weeble, yes. He's also at St. Charles.
All right, very cool.
Yeah, both from up in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, Reese was one of my lifeguards years and years ago with the Boy Scout camp in Benton, so it's interesting how things are so small.
Lucas Bastian is from Lewistown, so that's kind of on the way up there.
Yeah, that's close. Reading's important with academics. James loves to read. In fact, he was reading Harry Potter the whole way down. I thought he'd be like, let's go over the
You can read in a car, James?
Yeah,
I get a little sick. I get a little car sick if I read in a car.
I can read anywhere.
So that's fantastic.
Well, not in the pool. Not
Multi-talented.
You're not in water. I can read anywhere that a book won't get ruined.
So James has some questions he's asked everybody that we've interviewed. So go ahead, James.
So, what are you reading?
I'm reading the recently published autobiography of Pope Francis. It's called Hope. Hope, the Holy Father, whom we're praying for very much because he's been critically ill for the last several weeks. So we really want to please continue to pray for him, for his recovery, and for the church and his leadership. But I'm reading his autobiography that he just published. I'm not aware of any other pope in history that ever wrote an autobiography. So it's called Hope, and it's really, really good. He's talking. I've just started on just like 50 pages into it. Yeah.
What was your favorite book growing up?
Oh, there's a lot there I'd have to think about. I've always loved, when I was growing up, there was a whole series of books that we got. There was a collection called the Hardy Boys. Now, I don't know if Mr. Eck would remember that.
Yes, I remember, especially the ones where you had to solve the mystery yourself.
Yeah, there were mystery stories, and they were 2 brothers, and my dad was a voracious reader, And so he and our family, we were encouraged to read a lot. So I no sooner finished one Hardy Boys book than I had another one in my hand. So I would say the Hardy Boys really got me into reading at a young age, like reading regularly. But what other books? Gosh, I loved English class when I was, particularly in high school. I look back on that. But I remember even in elementary school, middle school, getting into some of the things we read together. But books that really made a great impression on me and helped me. I think we were really part of our study program in school. So I could think of, we read a lot of classics in a humanities program that I had in honors English in my in 11th and 12th grade, my junior and senior year.
Yeah, that's
We would
seems to be a little bit
Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness, Don Quixote, Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. We read The Great Gatsby. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
There was an article recently about how maybe we need to look at getting back to more of the classic literature.
Yes.
I'm kind of new to Catholic school. I'm in my third year there, but I kind of see the sense in that. I know some of our homeschool parents actually have their high school age kids reading encyclicals.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's something maybe we should think about even in middle school.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting idea. Yeah, no, absolutely. I grew up with that and reading You know what I do? I love reading poetry. And I started many years ago, just a little discipline. I read a poem a day, and I go through different collections and different times. But some people do a crossword puzzle in the morning. Some people do other kinds of word games. But I love reading poetry. So right now I'm going through a collection of Robert Frost, who I really enjoy.
That you may make me give up my daily crossword puzzle now.
Well, friends of mine do Wordle, and they're telling me I should be doing Wordle every day. The New York Times.
It doesn't take a long time.
It doesn't take a long
No,
time.
that's not a big time commitment.
I used to ask people that were on the podcast what they want for Christmas, but now that we're heading into Lent, what are you giving up for Lent, and what's your favorite holiday also?
Oh, I have to say, as a Christian, I would have to say Easter. It has the most meaning for me.
Mm-hmm.
We're baptized into the death and resurrection of Christ. So
cool.
everything that's associated, that's the culmination of Lent. And what we do, it's giving up things for Lent. You know what it's really all about? It's about setting aside something that we ordinarily do to create more space for God. It's really about setting aside something so that I can turn toward God more readily, more frequently, or with a renewed attentiveness. So part of that is, I think, for all of us, is to do what we ideally are doing all the time, but we do it with a new intentionality. I think when we talk about fasting from things, there's things that are maybe very good. One of the I'm looking at a cell phone there. One of the things that I think can kind of distract us constantly is our use of social media and how much time we spend on our cell phones. Even if we just say, I'm gonna take an hour a day where I'm not gonna have it on my person. I'm just gonna take a break from it, or a couple of hours. Or I'm not going to look at it until 9 o'clock in the morning, just so that I can have some quiet time. They're good disciplines that I think really open us up to that, and also really try to fast from things that perhaps lead us away from God. Fast from I don't know. One thing that's really good that I find is very good. I love to listen to music. I mean, I'm a musician, and that I always listen to music in the car. I always have music on. But, I've discovered more recently, sometimes it's just good to turn off the music and just be in silence and use it as an opportunity to talk to God. Helps you pay more attention to the road and you're driving and other drivers. And it's a good time for intercessory prayer when you think of the things that, you're praying for, or people. As a bishop, I get asked all the time, would you say a prayer for my mother, for my brother who's got cancer, someone who just lost their spouse. I bring all that to mind. Sometimes, silence in the car when I'm driving. So it doesn't have to be anything super complicated, but are there ways in our lives where we can create more space for God? And that's what I think is really, that's what Lent's all about, because during that time, in that space, we can really grow closer to him, because we focus on the fact that ultimately God is our best friend, and he's the our Lord Jesus is to be the center of our lives. And so we're just creating more space to remember that.
What are your thoughts there, James?
Well, I'm probably gonna give up snacking after school.
It's interesting to see what third graders are thinking about for Lent.
Well, that's good. Remember, when you do that, you're going to think about that. And you're going to come home and you normally have a snack, and you're going to think, I normally have a snack. But you know what? At that moment, when you don't, just say, Jesus, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this because I love you. And it's also good to say, and Jesus, I'm doing it for the intention of ending the war in Ukraine, or bringing peace to Gaza, or to help the church get more priests and have more seminarians, or for victims and survivors of human trafficking, which is something I've been trying to focus on. And I'm encouraging people actually in my Lenten letter to do that. If you're going to fast, you're going to give up something during Lent, do it with the intentionality of loving Jesus. I'm going to do this for love of you, to show that I love you, and also to do it for others that need my prayer. It's good to have that extra
part.
Motivation, do you know?
It's like putting an intention with a rosary.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I like the thought that it'll tie in with the phone, right? Like, I'm going to give up my cell phone for Lent, but if I just plop down in front of my computer, that I really... No, I'm going to put that time aside and reflect on why I'm doing it as well. I like that
Right.
thought.
So, I have to ask you something. This is probably the best question I have. What's your favorite Bible story?
I love the Easter narratives, the story of Jesus after he rose from the dead. All of them, in one way or another. Each has just such hope and such transformation, death that leads to life. One gospel situation, I guess I would have to say, after Jesus rose from the dead, as it's described in the Gospel of John, where Jesus has that encounter with the apostles. They bring the fish from the catch, and Jesus has that dialogue with Peter, where he says, "Peter, do you love me?" And he says yes. He asks him 3 times. And sometimes they think that he was asking him to undo the 3 times that he had denied Jesus, knowing Jesus. But I that scene, and then really where each time Jesus says, "Feed my lambs, feed my sheep, tend my sheep," in response to Peter insisting that he loves him, he gives him a mission. And I love that image of the paradigm that our love for Jesus really turns us outward to mission, which is what he gives to Peter. And so I find that I've experienced that deeply, in a deeply personal way, having walked through that dialogue myself in prayer with the Lord, feeling that's what a bishop's supposed to do. Feed the sheep, tend the sheep. That's what I seek to try to do. So I love that story. It also ends with Jesus saying to Peter, "When you were young, you went about as you will, but when you were old, someone else will dress you and take you where you do not want to go."
Let's not think about that too much.
It's a surrender of will, which is also a good part.
Which is a good thing.
So, I have this Bible, but it's actually like in comic book style. Like it's the whole Bible, but it's in comic book style.
My goodness.
So it's like much easier to read than like the actual Bible.
Yeah.
And Mr. Eck here actually gave it to me for my first communion.
Oh, wonderful. When did you make your first communion?
In 2nd grade.
It's about a year ago.
So last year.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for James?
What are you reading right now, James?
Harry Potter.
Oh, Harry Potter. It's right. Yeah, Mr. X said that in the car on the way.
And I'm
now, which one? I mean, there's a lot of Harry Potters.
So I've been reading the series in order, and I'm on the last book.
Wow. That's a lot of books.
I'm trying to finish it before my birthday on March 24th because I want to do a Harry Potter movie marathon, but I don't want to spoil the movies before I finish the books. So I'm trying to finish the 7th book before my birthday.
Wow, that's really good.
And my birthday is on March 24th.
Well, you're right after me. My birthday's on March 22nd.
Oh, wow.
We brought the spring.
You've done podcasts before,
Yes.
and I wanted to kind of mention that we do have a diocese
Yes.
podcast, Candid Catholic Convos.
Yes.
And that's with Rachel.
Yes.
So if any listeners are out there, we'll put that in the notes so you can listen to that podcast.
You can access off the diocesan website.
What website? And another podcast that I've enjoyed listening to recently is Nets in the Water, a Catholic education podcast by John Barreto. He's down in Florida. 7th grade students in religion at St. Joe's will know him as DJ Richter from Showtime with Chevin. But I've really enjoyed his podcast. He's bringing in big power players in Catholic education in Florida. Really good podcast. I'll put a link for that in the show notes as well. Anything else you wanted to go back and hit on, James, before we wrap this up?
No.
Or Bishop?
Not really.
Anything?
I have to ask you something. Have you ever been to our school, St. Joseph's?
I've been to your parish several times. I don't think I've actually been in the school.
You should come.
I have to come sometime.
Yeah, you should come.
Yes.
I think the 3rd graders would love it if you stopped in.
Yeah. Well, we'll look for an opportunity. I'm surprised you didn't ask me about music.
Okay, what's your favorite music band?
Well, I don't
Or like
really have a band. I play the piano.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I started when you were asking me about what sports I played. Part of the reason I didn't play too many sports was I was practicing the piano. I started when I was 7.
I actually do piano too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's great.
And I'm pretty sure I actually started when I was like 6.
So you got another year on me. That's really good. But I try to play the piano every day. And I mostly play classical music.
So I think that wraps stuff up. Thank you, Bishop Senior, for being on here.
Well, thank you, James. I'm very grateful to you and to Mr. Eck for your visit and for the opportunity.
And thank you, Mrs. Winters, for getting us here. And for giving us this opportunity. And thank you, listeners, again for listening to today's episode. And we will have more episodes in the future. And goodbye.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
All right, see
Bye.
ya.
See you later.
Thanks,
God bless you.
Bishop.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Attic Antics, a Tiger TV production. To find the latest episodes of all Tiger TV productions, go to stjosephdanville.com. stjosephdanville.com. And scroll down to Tiger TV Productions.
St. Joseph,
Pray for us!